Tell me about your week.
Dude,
This is week number 115 or something.
give or take a couple.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you. Um, Nibbling on tangerine here. I finally started listening to an audiobook that my mom recommended. She heard it from Guy Raz of How I Built This podcast fame. The book is called The Boys, Ron Howard, the director, actor. It's about him and his brother, a memoir about Hollywood.
With his
And
brother in Hollywood.
yep, um, the whole family is. And so up your alley, dude. It took a while for me to take the plunge. My mom's been telling me all week, you gotta listen to this, you gotta listen to this, you gotta listen. It already, it's so, this is why I don't like, in my opinion, shit. I genuinely respect your opinions on stuff because even when we disagree, like you have your reasons and you laugh about it. Whereas like a lot of things though that I don't like, it's like just mundane to me. When you hear a story like this, he starts talking about how his parents, the way they raised them in Hollywood was like his dad was like an in touch, interesting, funny guy, like a modern dad. Even though he was from an era where there's like a lot of closed off dads, he was just an interesting guy that took his sons under his wing. And he was just brilliant. And they raised them in Hollywood to be down to earth, interesting people. It's just such a human insightful story so far, and my mom was like, you learn everything about Hollywood and about how to make things and how it just goes from A to Z, and so it's brilliant so far.
What
Really
are some
excited.
of the life lessons you've gleaned from it?
Honestly, I'm pretty early on still, but I'm just seeing how great their dad was of a father, and just them thinking about their place in the world. Ron Howard talking about how like their family came from Oklahoma, and if their parents didn't go to New York to become actors from Oklahoma and change their name, how different things could have been. And with the rest of it, and not necessarily bad or good, but in him comparing himself to other actors who had taken just this path to the left, zigged when they zagged, and not that that's bad either, but just they're really, really appreciative of their life,
Hmm.
the relationships they have, and they're all really close family, and like they love to laugh, and like they love to talk basketball and movies and like so, and it's sort of refreshing when most of the stuff that I hear about in general is about like how people don't get along with their parents and have nothing in common and stuff. I just
They
find
come to Hollywood to get that approval that they always wanted. Is that
not
no?
necessarily. No, no.
That's usually the story you hear about Hollywood. So to hear about this close-knit family that's like they all get along.
Interesting. I no, yeah. I definitely I feel like the number one rule of thumb for the people that come to Hollywood is like they're told they're the best looking people from their town or something. Hey, you should be in the movies, kid. They go to Hollywood, whatever. But especially why this hits a chord is because when I hear an old Hollywood family that felt normal and was strangely well adjusted, and they'd been through it all and they'd seen all the different eras of Hollywood and everything, it just hits me so hard because I don't think about that for my own family very often, but every now and again I'll have like even the guy whose event that I'm doing this weekend at the Calabasas Pickleball, the Food Network guy. I think I told you he told me he's like, dude, you're from like a real Hollywood family, and they're like looking at me like it's cool that you're not a complete fuck up and stuff, and like I hear that, and when I start listening to something like this, it connects the dots for me, and I'm like, I really appreciate it in a different way.
What do you think is different about your family and their family that makes it work, where they are more grounded and they're not caught up in all the bullshit and don't fuck up their lives? What is the differentiating factor?
Well, a lot of things, but I think
You
it's
said gratitude. Like
yeah,
it
I
sounds
think
like
it's
they're
stuff like
really
that.
grateful in
I
there.
think it's just the common like family values that are different that like even if it was outside of Hollywood are good.
Mhm.
Which my mom said even more like it really teaches you how to be a good parent and a good family member. Like uh you know, every time I hear my family talk about Hollywood, it's always different from what you think you're gonna hear for the most part, especially my dad, but my mom a lot too. And like my grandfather was like brilliant to hear talk about it. My grandmother, like my dad, when people ask him how it was being a child actor, for the longest time I never heard him talk about it. And I always assumed he was gonna say like, oh, it's bad or whatever. And then when I got kind of to a certain age where I started like really paying attention to what he said, people would ask him and he'd be like, well, I thought it was the best. He's like, you're treated like an adult. You get money. You kind of you're seen. Yeah, and my dad really loved filmmaking from a young age. He was kind of like an adult as a kid. He was already gambling and stuff by the time he was 12. So it's so interesting. And yeah, there's a lot of sides of it, of course. Of
Well, yeah, I mean, you do see both of those sides of Hollywood, and you do usually see the worst one. Like all
yeah.
the stuff with Diddy and whatever is coming,
Right.
like there's a real undertow of this industry that is coming to light. But it's like
I
at the same
think we
time,
probably have heard more of that in the last 30 years because it
yeah,
probably wasn't talked about very much back in the
yeah.
day. I could be wrong, but
I love that reality though that and you see people in LA that have homes that they've had in the family for forever and they're just kind of, they go to the store, they get coffee, they do stuff in the industry. There is a side of this that I understand what you're talking about. Um
oh,
I
I mean,
would love to, and even if you are a first generation
yeah.
person in Hollywood, it's like you can already start to set those things up and set like when you're thinking about legacy and how you want your future
Oh,
generations to carry on.
it's about setting those standard values that are good for life and that you don't change just because you get into the land of fame and where you're yes to everything.
For
They,
sure.
now that I think about it, he does say that like some important values were no matter what fame or whatever, everyone in the family was equal. And I wonder how that kind of played out because it means probably you have to go against things, you have to say no to things, but everyone's in the family is equal. There's no pretense. You love unconditionally, not just when people do certain things. You take responsibility for your actions. They have like a strong sense of right and wrong, I think, and you have to strive to do right. Like good. Uh and they had a lot of mishaps too and stuff, but uh yeah, and I think for them what was important was the Hollywood stuff especially is like it can't consume you probably like it has we talk about balance you and I, but they're really like you have to you have to do other stuff besides just your profession.
Yep. One thing I've done over the last year is get into jujitsu, and what that's done for me is just this is a group of guys that don't give a fuck about the entertainment industry or filmmaking or whatever views you have on a fucking video. None of that shit matters, and that's so healthy, you know? There's also what you're talking about too. I'm pretty sure this relates because I'm realizing I'm getting a shift in mindset that's happened maybe over the last 3 weeks or so, where it's like for almost all the time that I've been out trying to make it, there was like a desperation to it. And yeah, I did a lot of stuff, but there was this desperation to it. And my mindset was, which this is not actually the reality. My mindset was I got to make something so fucking good that someone will see it and they'll hand pick it and then they'll want to give me this crazy opportunity and then I'm put on or whatever. But what I'm learning more and more is like, and I really think this goes hand in hand with what you're saying about like family values and being that kind of person. It's that like you got to be the person that can get along really well with people. You got to be the person that can help other people bring their vision of something to light. You got to be someone who can, um, it's like, yes, you got to have a certain level of talent and you got to be able to prove yourself. But at the end of the day, instead of like striving to be this one incredible piece of talent that will then be hand selected and hand picked and you're constantly going for approval or whatever, it's more like no, just like be chill, make connections, but talk to people, kind of figure out what they want. How can you then fit in? How can your puzzle piece fit in with theirs? And then you can kind of co-create something, and then that could maybe lead to something else that you can help them out with. It's more of a giving kind of energy as opposed to what can I get?
Good point. I think that's good for business in general, right? Is like the more that you put out and help others, or for life in general, the more that you think about others, even in a time where you feel like you need the most, that's when like they say, think about someone else and you'd be surprised how it comes back to help you.
Yeah, and also you're not gonna it's not like the make or break moment. It's like a series of really small wins in that arena of like working with people and like let's make something and then that can lead to maybe something else.
So anyway, on that, I'll send you the link or something. But like I already from what I'm hearing, bro, it sounds like something that you'll be like addicted to this book.
If it's
Uh
an audiobook, there's like a 60% chance I'll listen. If it's a book, probably zero.
yeah, I mean, I'm listening to the audiobook.
Yeah. I'll
I,
I'll
I just say that
sure.
if you listen to Doug Ellen's podcast, for example, this is like, an extreme of that.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, good story's a good story, whatever. But nonetheless, how are you doing with your updates with stuff like the Crypt TV and stuff?
I'm good, bro. Things are good. It is about what I'm learning a lot about is like what it's like being in the development and like note taking process. It's like striking a very fine balance between um getting feedback from someone for what they want, but then being able to find an exciting entry point that I want and being able to merge those two things together. Because also
You get
oftentimes
feedback here. All right, but I love as much as I love the little personalities and the stuff that we could get from a writing textbook. Who are you getting the notes from? Like, is that an update?
I'll give an example, okay?
Oh, oh,
No, this is a specific example that I'm going to give you.
this
Yeah,
is like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Crypt TV, okay? Incredible collaborative partnership that I'm having with those guys.
wow.
What I am finding is they'll give me a note for something. Um, my initial reaction is like, oh, like I wish we could just, go like move on this thing I had before. But like I get the note, I sit with it, I think about it. Sometimes the note that they give me or anyone gives me will be not actually what they want. So it's a process of me being able to decipher the note that they have, but being able to find the exciting thread or the entry point for me that'll get me to enthusiastically want to work on the project. Because if I take notes that I don't believe in and I just do whatever like notes say or whatever, and I don't have a vision with that, then I'm going to be dead on the project and the project will suffer. So it's about melding those two things. What's my vision on it? What's my spin on it? And how can I incorporate it in like an authentic way?
In Thomas Lennon's book, How to Make Movies for Fun and Profit, they say any type of studio head, any type of higher up that gives you a note, you have to be able to digest it under your own terms and make it, even if it's the worst note in the world, make it into a brilliant thing that they think is their idea.
Yes. Yes. That's exactly it.
And
Because then they're also excited about working on it too. Because, and in a way, it is their idea. Like they shifted it in a certain way, but it's like at that point, they're excited about working on it. You're excited about working on it. And that's how you continue to push it down the line.
it's the equivalent to when you have a parent or a teacher or something that gave you like you have to do this. And you hear it and you're like, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm going to do it just to show them that they're wrong. You could do it that way. Or you could say, when they say that you have to do this thing, you'd be like, "Ah, they said that wrong. But I know what they mean, and I'm going to do it the way that I know it's best to be done. You have to think A to C
Yeah.
way and then spin it out. And then once you do it well, they're like, oh, my kid is maturing, or this kid is maturing. That's called critical thinking skills. And it takes a mature human that a lot of people never ever get to. But I know that in business, that is what people want, whether it's
Yes,
a writer
bro.
or anything.
Spot on. Spot on. And at the end of the day, you want the project to get over the green light. You want to be able to push it into production. Who gives a fuck? Like, there is no note that someone can give me. I'm at this place now where I'm like, there is no note that someone can give me that I'm not able to find an entry point to. That's the professional. Because I
Okay.
need to
Same
make a
thing in
living.
acting. Same thing in acting.
When you get like a note from a director or what?
Yep. Dude, I on that Canada movie, I told you we talked about it, but like he gave me a note to say a line that literally made no sense whatsoever. And I'm not just like trying to give myself credit here, but it does pertain to this. I had to think to myself, how would that line make sense in that moment, the best of the story's ability? And I figured it out, dude. And I tried it on different people and we figured it out. Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude. The only time that you're able to not have any notes whatsoever is when you can fully finance the movie you're acting in or directing. Like, if you're working with other people at all in any capacity, there's going to be notes. So it's like learn early on how to decipher them, learn early on how to make it work.
Yeah, dude. What are they working on with you?
So I got this short called Clap Clap that is going to be shot in, we have a date now. I think it's November 10th and 11th, partly in Wrightwood where I'm at. And we got some of the usual players coming out, part of
How
Burnt
did it come
Mill.
together? Is it from anything you've done before or what?
It's I mean it started out with me pitching stuff with Crypt, which you know what's cool about it too is it is my first glimpse into what like the traditional development
Hollywood.
stage is like. You know, it's at a much smaller scale because it's not like a film, but it's a good first step where it's like I pitch a bunch of ideas, there's a kernel of an idea that they like. We talk back and forth. What are the elements that they like? What are some things we can tweak on?
In
We
person or Skype or whatever.
yeah, and we talk about you know, continue to talk about different elements and everything, and eventually we get to a place where it is you know, we're both excited about and genuinely want to do, and it's like yeah, now it's up to me. I'm producing the thing, so getting all the ducks in a row.
Did they give you money or what?
There is a budget, but it is yeah, there's a budget, but
Provided by them or what?
yeah,
Congrats. That sounds like you're getting a
thanks.
funded movie.
Yeah, thanks. So I've
I like
got
a reputable company.
yeah, they're great. And so now it's up to me to produce the thing and get the ducks in a row. And it's like I I've done it on like 100 plus burnt mill stuff. So it's like I love this process, man. I mean, whether it's like a film or like a short film or whatever, I really love putting something together.
Yeah, I would assume so. I mean, how long have these conversations been going on for with like this movie?
I think since, I mean, the first time that we talked was maybe in like July. So it's been kind of like a, you know, build up. But part of that is because they,
When did you get this thing greenlit?
when did I? Oh, that was probably last Thursday or something. So pretty recent.
Congrats.
Thank you. So, The date is set for I'm shooting like the 10th, and then 2 weeks out from that, I'll send them the first version, and we'll go back and forth a little bit, and then they'll release it.
You can like need the budget, like because you could probably make a short film just on your own accord, right?
Well, I mean, we're doing this one by the books. That's there's a lot of new things that we're
Like, you
at.
have to be union or anything, or what?
It is non-union, but um, because I'm working with minors, there's certain strict guidelines and rules, including a set teacher, which I'm completely new to, and a lot of different elements like that. So it's good experience for me to be like, okay, this is how like these are the official things that you need in place.
I love that we're documenting this. This is interesting.
Yeah.
How long is the shoot gonna be?
It's gonna be 2 days. Um, Minors on set can only work about I believe 7, and then they need like an hour break. So we'll probably shoot a little bit past that with some of the other parts, but I still have to like schedule the thing out.
You love to take a long time to shoot.
I do.
Yeah.
I do, bro. I do, but this is an 8-page short, so it's longer than what I'm used to. But yeah, bro, I do like to shoot for a while. I'm one of those guys
A
that
lot
likes
of you do a lot of takes of like one shot.
I do a lot of takes.
Yeah.
I think most of those are probably tell me your experience, bro, like being on one of the sets. Like I think most of them have to do with the scare because it's so technical and mechanical where you have to have all these elements line up to actually be scary. So if I don't have it, then I want to continue to shoot. Is that what you experienced or was it something else?
No, that was it exactly. Yeah, there's just so many takes where I'm just there. I'm like, damn, that's a lot. Yeah, really, really getting coverage. It's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But something that I've gotten much better at through all the shorts is like I I have essential shots. So I might take a lot of takes, and I don't know if I was at this place yet when we were shooting together, but um I'm now very essential. Like if I know that I need like the most amateur filmmakers, they'll be like, let me get a close up and a wide and a medium and a side profile so that they have everything in the edit. But I just go essential now. So if I want like a close up of your eye in one shot, I'll get that and that's it. And then we move on to the next thing, you know?
So you're saying you map out beforehand what that shot's gonna look like.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And
What
I
if
make
what if you do want to change that though?
well on the fly, on the day, I'm open to that. But especially as I'm moving into features, bro, it's like when every day is costing me, and this isn't a lot for a big budget thing, but for a small budget thing, every day costing me like 30 grand, then I got to make sure that I'm not shooting anything unnecessarily. So like I'll
You
probably
got to get your basics covered though, don't you?
you need your basics, yeah, but you should be able to. But I mean, when you say basics, you're probably talking about basic coverage. There's
Yeah.
like you don't like I feel like that's a lazy amateurish approach only because anyone can get coverage, but like having a very specific vision and style,
For instance,
yeah,
on the Lifetime movies, you literally do master close-ups of
no
both.
shit, really
That's it. And makes sense to me because, and by the way, that's the quickest thing possible.
quickest thing possible,
How
but
do you not capture what you need to in that? All the only thing else that you need to do is specific storytelling mechanics, which especially for a horror thing, I can imagine you really need certain reactions and things.
so look, no offense to that.
Look, the thing I just described is the opposite of cinematic, but yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Which again, that's its function. We know what to expect when we watch a
But
live.
like, don't. It's not as if function doesn't. That's the starting place for sure. I don't think that's bad.
It's not bad. However, that approach, um, you're not able to distinguish that filmmaker from another person who makes a lifetime movie. Like I'll give you an example.
But
Um,
You're just not going to convince me that Christopher Nolan doesn't get a master in close-ups of both sides.
He might get a master, but his master looks different from if you took a lifetime director and you say, okay, in this same exact scene, get a master. Every
Because he's going to do seven different masters. Like he's going to get a master, then he's going to get an over the shoulder, then he's going to get like a low to high. He's going to
Well,
although
you're
I
not you're
feel
not
like
talking about master. Let's just talk about master for a sec, right? A
uh,
master for our listeners out there is a wide shot. It's an establishing type thing. It gets almost everything in the
everyone.
scene. So a master, though, Christopher Nolan approaching a master looks different from a lifetime director approaching a master. A lifetime director will probably be like, okay, let's get this straight on like this. Christopher Nolan will have his master at an incredibly interesting angle, at a super like dynamic range, having
My
the
point though. My point addressing what you originally said is that there's not necessarily a need for those basic shots.
per wait, so you're saying you don't need coverage?
I'm addressing what you said in that, hey, it's kind of amateur, whether you were diligent on this or not, but
Yeah.
you're saying it's kind of like amateur to just feel like, oh, you need those basic shots. You're saying like when push comes to shove, you could kind of like be more prepared and not necessarily have to do the master than both close-ups.
Let me clarify. I'm basically saying like in a sequence, if you're prepared in
Yeah.
pre-production, when you're mapping out shots, you don't need like a medium shot for a certain moment, or even a whole scene, because there might be one scene where it's like, just get this and then get a very interesting master, and then you're good. So you don't have to get full coverage for every scene. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like, I'll give you an
I
example.
think I think my takeaway is like you're just saying really do your homework on what you're going to need before you shoot.
Because then, if you don't need a medium shot for a scene, why are you wasting time setting up that medium shot? It's like an insecurity so that
Right.
you're making sure you have enough on the cutting room floor. But you don't
Yeah.
need that if you're a prepared, smart director.
Yeah, I guess it's just you weigh those trade-offs, the pros and cons. If it's like that costly, then yeah, don't harp on it. But if you don't know and you're really trying to, cover the bases, I would say more is better than less.
Yeah, I would say though, like on a and I'm talking from the POV of a guy who needs to shoot. Yeah, I mean, my first two things are going to be about 250K. That for 15 days is nothing. So I have to go in with that mindset. I don't have any room for hopefully this will help and by getting an extra master or something. I have to be so diligent about the shots.
But I feel like that's not where you cut costs. You can cut costs like places that don't affect
Well,
the.
well, of course. I mean, the number one thing is your story should, and this is how we went in with both of these scripts, as far as like limited locations, limited actors. Like it's a huge overhaul type things, but then the time you spend on set is the next factor you have to think about.
Yeah. What were we talking about?
Well, I just want to give one example real quick. You ever seen the movie, which if you haven't seen this, you should, bro. You'll probably hate it because I love it, but it's called Audition, and it's a Japanese horror film. The most famous one from 1999 by Takasha Miki. And bro, the movie Audition, the shots and the angles they have in that are so specific that just putting that up against a life, not your Lifetime movie, but any other Lifetime movie, you can tell, bro, the difference in the preparation. It's like this is a director who's an auteur, and this is standard coverage. That's the difference.
But no, you move the goalpost on the point that you're making.
What's that?
So now you're saying that like, hey, a film that's like super cinematic and has amazing different shots is like the difference, and that's why you do preparation. I get that. That's not saying anything though compared to a Lifetime movie. All you're saying is like, because obviously Lifetime movies are just made for an audience that wants a cheap storyline that's going to be very quick to the point.
Right.
But when you're talking the most stylish storytelling that there is and everything, it's not that they're lacking coverage. It's just that, yes, they're the most intentional visionary auteurs out there, and they're storyboarding, they're doing whatever type of form of mapping it out they need to do to go into the
Mm-hmm.
set
Hmm.
and have very specific, beautiful things to tell the story. That being said, that usually comes to fruition with more shots,
Are you
more
sure?
things than less.
You sure?
Yeah, you don't just go in, run and gun, and then capture like a freaking like,
Well, no, no, not run and gun. It's like going in knowing what you want to shoot. I guess here's the thing. I don't know the process. I don't know like specifically how many shots they did on audition, but my job and again, this is with the hat of someone who literally only has 250K. When I'm on that set, I have to be
first of
able to,
all, people make stuff for way cheaper than that. That's like you're saying, as if you're saying that that's the cheapest thing to make. Like, people make stuff on no budget, no budget, and it's just non-union. Yeah,
well, yeah, but I mean, you mean like $0?
I don't know. Student films. It's not like it's not done. Like people,
It's
people.
done. It's done. It's done. But like where I arrived at the 250 is basically having all the legal stuff covered. Everyone's getting paid.
Yeah, that's all like bureaucracy. I get it. It's a big deal when it like actually gets done, and I'm sure that's like penny pinching and everything. But like you should be able to make a dope movie for that money. 250K if it's going to storytelling and stuff, people will be able to work hard and make great things. So it's up to the visionary to make sure that it's just mapped out so that it can be the best that it can be.
Right. Here's the only point I'm trying to make, okay? I I need to, and again, I don't know the process of audition, but going into a movie like this, which yes, you can make a movie for any amount of money, but these stories strip down, at least with the scripts that we have, we aren't able to shoot for anything cheaper if we're paying everyone. We
Right.
aren't, you know? So for the scripts that we have for being 250K, we're still working with incredibly limited resources. So we have to be very intentional about the shots that we take. So I'm coming from the mindset here of where I have to both be very intentional and cinematic with my shots and also economical and not take any
Well,
unnecessary shots.
then yeah, like get creative with your master. Because
Yeah,
like, if you boil down a master, what does it really mean? It means like it's like an intro to the whole scene. It's like covering, establishing like what everything is. It's not literally the establishing shot, but it's like the pulled out version. Yeah, you could do that. And like I bet there's literally like the best film school chapter on that ever. If you said like, oh, what are the best master shots that there are? You could have 100 of the best master shots ever. What are the best? you know, where it gets more complex, I'm sure, is with the close-ups and stuff and the mids and everything. But yeah, it's just, I mean, Lifetime movies don't call for that necessarily. It would be like off
right.
tone for it. You know,
Because you're expecting a certain thing for Lifetime.
yes.
But I just hope that my films, and no offense to Lifetime, I just want my films to, even at that budget, to mirror more of like an audition as opposed to a Lifetime. That's
You're
what
not
I'm
you're not trying to shoot your horror film with like Lifetime
like
backdrops.
coloring and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although Fatal Fixer Upper was a banger.
Dude, that thing got scary just because of the villain, really.
You
That
got a poster of that hanging up? I hope you do. I'd have that shit framed.
that's actually like I thought you were joking at first, but that would be kind of fun.
Bro, next time you're zooming from your bedroom, I want to see that thing on your wall.
Not a bad idea. It'd be so funny.
You got to take stock of your success,
Mm,
Duke.
thanks, man. I know the little things. Uh, what else was I gonna say? Some interesting things of late. Not sure.
Are you watching anything? You finished that Lord of the Rings series?
Oh yeah, it was a banger.
Banger.
Highly underrated to me. Although, yeah, whatever. I recommend it. What about you?
Uh,
This Ronnie Howard thing, The Boys, is like the most interesting. I think that would pull at your strings. I think you'd be like, oh my gosh, I need to just eat this up.
yeah, there's like a 60% chance I'll throw that thing on in the car. It's pretty good odds.
I like it. I like it. I'm gonna send it to you right now. What are you watching and
I'm
stuff?
not watching anything, but there is a movie I want to see. And the story behind this is crazy. I think it's called Beautiful Darling. Have you heard of that?
I don't know. Okay.
Maybe it's not that. It's something, maybe Darling. I want to get this right. Um,
Around the words.
Strange Darling. And
Okay.
it was released by I think A24. But basically this
Oh wow.
film was almost pulled after 2 days because it was so stylistic and the studio didn't like it and they were about to pull the plug. And my favorite producer, Roy Lee, who's head of Vertigo, I fucking love that guy. He is so composed, bro. He produced it and Barbarian, and this guy, nothing phases him. He's a fucking legend. But anyway, he pushed for it to stay in and for them to continue shooting. But what's interesting about this movie, and I have to fucking see this thing, is the director and writer envisioned this one shot, this beautiful cinematic shot of this woman running for her life through a field. And you can see it in the trailer. It's the first shot of the whole trailer. And it's just this gorgeous fucking cinematic shot. And that visual of that one shot built out into this entire film. It's called Strange Darling.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Horror movie.
I love it. Dude, I just remembered something. I gotta drop names though real quick. Let's wrap up and I'll call you.
Okay.
How's
Sounds
that?
good. We'll be
All
back
right.
next week.
Yep, we'll be back.